Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another dark and gloomy day, but today is the shortest day of the year, so as from tomorrow it starts getting lighter, though they say. So on this dark and dingy day I have got you a really good music marathon today. We're going to look at the Strawbs. Strawbs was a request by one of the subscribers, so here we go. Big catalogue as well. Strawbs were formed in 1940. I think I mean 1964, as the Strawberry Hill Boys. They were a bluegrass band, but eventually moved into other styles such as folk rock and progressive rock. So the original members were Dave Cousins and Sandy Denny, who eventually convention. We're not going to do the Namble, the Strawbs and the Sandy Denny made. We're not doing this in this ranking, but that's for another show, just like Fairport Convention will be. There's 22/23 albums, because one of the albums was not released anywhere else but Canada. Pretty good band. They've made some really strong albums. I haven't got them all, but I've got a good chunk of their stuff, especially their early stuff. Lots of people have been in this band, including Rick Wakeman, of course. So as we've got a long one to do, we will get cracking. So coming in at number 23, we go to 2011. This is the 19th album, and it is Hero and Heroine in Ascencia. It's just basically a remake of the classic album. We've got Dave Cousins on here, Dave Lambert, John Young on keyboards, Chaz Cronk on bass, Tony Fernandez as ever on drums. I'm not going to tell you too much about this because we're going to go through it later. It's just one of them remakes. I never understood why did they have to do it, because why bend something that isn't broke? I mean, it is a great album, so I'm just going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10, just because it is a good album. And okay, it's a listenable. I haven't got it. I've listened to it, and it was okay, but I prefer the original, of course, which I've got. Okay, then coming in number 22, we go to 2014 now, on the 20th album, and it's called Prognostic. Okay, there's a story behind this one. Heartbreak Hill, which is another album, was recorded in '78 and was intended to be the follow-up to Deadlines. However, due to problems with the record company and the management, that album didn't appear till 1995. And the original Heartache Brigade recordings did not see the light of day on an unofficial release. In the meantime, they had reformed the band and released further 2 studios in the 80s and 90s, which featured re-recordings of these songs. So these are some of the sessions from this. Some stuff here that goes back as far as 1975, so it's a bit of a mishmash of an album, this is. So on here we've got Dave Cousins vocals and lead acoustic, Dave Lambert plays lead guitars on some of them, Andy Richards plays keyboards, Chaz Cronk is bass and vocals, and Tony Fernandez. So you've got a right mishmash on this one. We've got Prognostic, Strawbs, Heartache Hill, Through the Eyes of Through Aphrodite's Eyes, Something for Nothing, Starting Over, Deep in the Darkness Night, The River, Down by the Sea, which was a live thing that they did for Central Television, Blue Angels, a live track, Tomorrow's a live track, and A Little Light on Me, Heroes Theme, and Round was recorded in 2010 in Bristol. Again, it's another little album of Rish Hash bits. I haven't got it. I've listened to it. It's not too bad, I suppose. I'll give this one an RTO ranking a 4.5. Okay, now we get into the ordinary stuff. So coming in at number 21, we go to 1987 now, and 13th album, Don't Say Goodbye. The album again originally was recorded for the unreleased Heartbreak Hill album using the same arrangements, and that was released in 1995. Very confusing catalogue this is. Dave Cousins on this doing lead vocals, backing vocals. Tony Hooper on lead vocals and backing vocals and guitars. Richard Hudson drums. Brian Wilbury guitars. Rod Demick bass guitar and Chris Parron on the keyboard. First track on this one is called A Dog and His Boy. It's quite rocky, but it's ruined by the one and only 80s keyboard sound. Let It Rain, sorry. Really good track, ruined by the 80s keyboards. We Can Make It Together. Like this track, proper Strawbs sound. There's not much of that horrible production on it. Then we get a track called Tina de Fada. Again, it's good, but the production on the drums is pretty weak. Something for Nothing. This isn't too bad. Some nice guitar work here. Really strong track. Evergreen, probably the best track on the album. The harmonies on this is terrific. It's a really strong track. That's When the Crying Starts. It's okay. And Beat the Retreat, proper folky sound, what you expect from the Strawbs. Really strong track to end the album. Unfortunately, this album has got a lot of that horrible 80s keyboard and drums on it, but some of the sort of folky songs are really good. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 4.7. Okay, then coming in at number 20, we have the 14th album, which was released in 1991. And it is called Ringing Down the Years. The title track was written by Dave Cousins about hearing the death of former member Sandy Denny. So, Dave Cousins is on the lead vocals, Tony Hooper's on the backing and acoustics, Richard Hudson lead guitar, vocals on that, Brian Wilbury's on guitars, Chris Parron on keyboards, Rod Demick bass, and Kathy LeSurf on the vocals of The King. Might Be on Mars. I love this track. I love Dave Cousins' vocal on that. Really strong. The King. A really good track. It's one of my favourite tracks by the band, and there's another version of this that's got someone famous on it as well. Forever Ocean Blue. Love that one. Listen to that one quite a lot. Grace Darling. Love the guitar work in this. Then we get my favourite track on this one, Afraid to Let You Go. This quirky little track. I like the catchy beat to it. Excellent stuff. Tell Me What You See in Me. Another solid track. Good track that is. Ringing Down the Years. Lovely little tribute to Sandy Denny. Very emotional vocal from Dave Cousins. Stone Cold, This Woman's Heart. It's alright, not one of my favourite tracks. Taking a Chance. Very generic drums on it, not particularly good. Another mixed bag here. And this is the one that was released only in Canada, so it's a very rare album. I've heard it. I don't own this one. I sort of, there's tracks of it on YouTube, so I've sort of listened to it in bits and bobs. But on the whole, it's pretty mixed for me. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 19, we have Baroque Roll, which is the 16th album released in 2001, and this is an acoustic album. It came about by Dave Cousins and Brian Wilbury, booked to perform as a duo in Twickenham in 2000. They sort of got inspired by doing the acoustic songs of the Strawbs, and they had a go at it. So on here we've got Dave Cousins lead vocals, guitars and banjos, Dave Lambert lead vocals and acoustic guitars, Brian Willoughby on acoustic. Additional personnel on here, we've got Robert Kirby doing strings, and the strings were Howard Gott, Ruth Golped on violin, Sophia Soria on viola, and Sarah Wilson cello, and Andy Woodman double bass. It was just like a string orchestra. And the guitars, they're just tracks from all their albums. On here we've got Tears and Pavan, Remembering, You and I, Evergreen, Ghost, Sweet Dreams, Nightlight, Guardian Angel, There will be, start again here, There will come the day, Not All the Flowers Grow, Inside Your Hell Tonight, The Golden Salamander, The River Down by the Sea, The Flower and the Young Man, Benedictus, and Alice's Song. Definitely one of those acoustic albums that absolutely works. The strings really do add to it. It's a really little good album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay then, time for us drink already. Coming in number 18. Go to 2021 now. This is the most current album and their 23rd. And it's called Settlement. We've got Dave Cousins on vocals and guitars, Dave Lambert again on vocals and guitars, Dave Bainbridge on keyboards and Hammond organ, Chaz Cronk on the vocals and bass, 12-string guitars, Tony Fernandez is on here, and we've got Carol Craig on vocals with extra bass from John Ford and Sholkat Joubert. First track on here is called Settlement, the title track. It's okay now. Dave Cousins' vocals are a little bit deep as he gets older, so they're quite deep, and it's a really good track. Strange Times, musically this sounds really good, but unfortunately Dave's vocals are a little bit flat in places. Judgment Day, this one isn't too bad. It's got that modern sort of drum percussion on, which I don't like. Why do you need drum machines when you've got Tony Fernandez? Really? I don't get that at all. Each Manner of Man, this one harks back to the good old days. Great vocal from Dave Cousins on this. My favourite track on the album is really good. The Visit, solid track. Got no problem with that one. It's just very nice. Flying Free, very quirky. Very good track. Quicksilver Days, not keen on this one. Dave seems a little bit flat on this. We Are Everyone, again he sounds rather flat. Then we got Chorale. I like this, it's got a lovely church organ on it. Considering this is their latest album, it's a pretty decent album. Dave Cousins is a little flat, but I'll allow for that because he is getting older and he can't hit the high notes like he used to. But on the whole, it's a reasonable listen, this one. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Coming in at number 17 then, we go to the 16th album from 2004. And it's called Déjà Fou, which is a play on the phrase Déjà Vu. On here, we have got Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, John Hawkin on keyboards, Rob Coombs on drums. Additional singers, there's loads of people on here. A full orchestra with the violins and French horns. And this is the first band lineup that's been seen since 1974. So it's sort of a classic lineup of the Strawbs. So the first track on here is called Riviera de Flore. Very short and it's a nice guitar and floral piece with the flute. Very, very nice. Under a Cloudless Sky just carries on from that short piece. typical Dave Cousins. It builds up into a really good track. It's quite proggy, excellent little track. Face Down in the Well, it's okay, listenable. One Night Like This, it's a bit of a country sort of song, it's alright. If, a nice song, I like the vocal and the strings working well here, very good. Then we get my favourite track on this one. It's called Cold Steel. Some banjo in this. It's very folky rock. This really good. Sunday Morning's another reasonable track. This Barren Land, very flat vocals, I'm afraid. I'll allow for that though. When the Lights Came On, love this track. This goes back to the early days. Some proper sort of prog track. That is excellent. Then we get a track called The Russian Front. I like this. It's got a really nice upbeat sound to it. Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Love the piano in this. Absolutely delightful. Then we get a track called NRG. Country folk rock. Really, really good. Another really mixed album here. It's got some good stuff on it and it's got some not so good stuff on it. But it's quite a good listen. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay then, coming in at number 16. Go to 2017 now. The 22nd album, and it's called The Ferryman's Curse. So it's Dave Cousins as usual, Dave Lambert, Dave Bainbridge, Chaz Cronk and Tony Fernandez. First track is called In the Beginning. Now this is a little intro piano from Dave Bainbridge, really good. And then we get The Nails from the Hands of Christ. There's some triangle on this, there's some Hammond organ, some really good drumming from Tony Fernandez. Excellent little track. The Song of Infinite Sadness, not too bad again. The vocals a little bit suspect, but we allow for that because of Dave's age. Then we have The Familiarity of Old Lovers. I love the guitar solo in this. It's really good, really holds the track together. When the Spirit Moves, my favourite track on this. There's some bells on it. It's really a mixture of folk and prog. Excellent little track. The Ten Commandments, solid track, great guitar work in this. Really is strong. Then we get this little short thing called The Reckoning. It's just a short piece of music with some flute and guitar. Very pleasant. Title track, The Ferryman's Curse. It's not too bad. Got some great guitar work. Sort of that proggy sound. Excellent sort of stuff. Bats and Swallows. Really, really good song. Like that one as well. Then we have a track called We Have the Power. Nice quirky track. Nice way to end the album. Quite uplifting. This is actually a very enjoyable album. It's got some strong guitar work on here. I mean, okay, some of Dave Cousins' vocals let him down, but I'll let him off for that. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 15, we have the 15th album, Blue Angel. It's from 2003, and it's the first album in 12 years. And it features the one and only Miss Mary Hopkin. So we've got Dave Cousins on lead vocals as usual, Brian Willoughby on the electric guitar, Dave Lambert's there, Blue Weaver on keyboards, Andy Richards on the keyboards, Rod Demick backing vocals and harmonica and bass, Chaz Cronk is on the bass as well, Richard Hudson does some backing vocals and drums, Richard Coombs, Tony Fernandez, then loads of singers including Mary Hopkin, Maddie Pryor and Rick Kemp, to name a few. So the first track on here is the title track, Blue Angel. My favourite track. This is a bit of an epic. It is 13 minutes. Great vocal here for Mary Hopkin. What a singer. You know, after all these years she's sounding good. It's a brilliant, brilliant track. Then we get Oh So Sleepy, quite rocky for the Strawbs, good solid track. Further down the road, that combination of Mary Hopkin and Dave Cousins really works well on this album. Terrific stuff. Very similar to the Sandy Denny, Dave Cousins sound. There Will Come the Day. This is co-wrote by Dave Cousins and Mr. Don Airy. Got that mystique feel to it. Great guitar solo. Very nice vocal here from a lady called Catherine Craig. Strange Day Over the Hill. It's very country. Really an off the kilter track for this album. It's good, but it doesn't really fit on the album. Cry No More. Very nice here. Mary Hopkin. Really strong again. The Plane. This track has got lots of atmosphere, a nice guitar solo on it. I love that track. Do You Remember? This is one of the tracks that Mary Hopkins sings really well on it. Her voice complements Mr. Cousins very well. Rhythm of Night, solid track, great little rock track that is. Morning Glory, not a particular favourite of mine. Sealed with a Traitor's Kiss, love the title, not a very good song. Lay Down, some nice guitar work on this, and then we get another version of The King. This has got Maddie Pryor on it, and it sounds pretty good. The first part of this album's really strong. It's got some great tracks on it, and then it goes downhill from there. The middle bit, the last few tracks on the album are really sort of fillers for me, but The King is really good with Maddie Pryor singing on it. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.2. More coffee. Okay then, coming at number 14, get to the 17th album from 2008, The Broken Hearted Bride. So we've got Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Rod Crooms, and we've got John Hawkins as an additional on the keyboards, Ian Cutler on the fiddle, and the Big Deal Choir. First track on here, The Call to Action. This is an interesting track. It's a mixture of Celtic and Middle Eastern music, the Celtic drums and the Mystic East sound. Really good track like that. Christmas Cheer, good rock track but not very Christmas. Too Many Angels, really interesting lyric here. But Dave Cousins sort of struggles singing it. The Broken Hearted Bride, good track. Great guitar riffs on this, really strong track. Nice calm organ on it as well, really good. Shadowland, not too bad. The best thing about this is the guitar solo. Then we get Through Aphrodite's Eyes, great track, great solo. It's been featured on one of their previous albums, but this is the best version of it. My favourite track on the album. Deep in the Darkness, interesting drum on this, but really good. You Know As Well As I, this is quite nice. Nice acoustics guitars on this, some electric guitar just blends in. It's a good little track. Everybody Knows, this reminds me of some of the early Strawbs stuff, really good. And then we get another good little track called Action Replay, Celtic sounding, really good. And the last track, We'll Meet Again Sometime, starts slow and gets better as the track goes on. It starts a little bit ploddy, but it gets really good. Good way to end the album. Builds up nicely. A pretty solid album. One of the better ones from the later years. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, then coming in at number 13, we go to 2018 now, on the 18th album, Dancing to the Devil's Beat. Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Roy Coombs. Oliver Wakeman's on this, on the Hammond and keyboards, of course. keeping up the tradition of Awakening in the Strawbs. Additional people: Ian Cutler on the fiddle, Vince Martin harmonica, Stephen Mission cornet, Keith Deary on the cornet, and the Congregation of St Christopher a Cliff Choir. First track on here is called Revenge, and in brackets, Can Be So Sweet. So sweet. I really struggle with this one. The vocal is not very good. Yeah, nice arrangement, but the vocals let it down. Then we get Beneath the Angry Sky. Great track, one of the rockier ones on the album. I like that track a lot. Copenhagen, very nice harmonies on this, solid track. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's called Patricia Suite. It's a bit of an epic. It's got some nice interpretations. It goes up and down. You've got some smoothy bits, you've got some aggressive bits. It's a nice, really sort of prog song. Excellent. Where Silent Shadows Fall, not a bad track. Goes back to the good old days, really good. I love the title of this next one, The Man Would Never Leave Grimsby. It's a very nice story. It's one of them story tracks. Very, very good. Then we get the Ballad of Jay and Rosemary. I love this. It's got a jazzy feel to it. Great bass line on this from Chaz Cronk. Really strong stuff. Then we get Dancing to the Devil's Beat, another little great rocker. Some great Hammond organ on this from Oliver Wakeman. Excellent stuff. And then we got How She Changed. A really good album. One of the best tracks on the album. Okay, this is an album that I've now added to my collection. It's probably my favourite album of the modern day Strawbs. It's got some great rockers on this, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, we've got into the 12 now. These are the ones that I have got. These are what I consider the classic era of Strawbs. So coming in at number 12, we have the 9th album from 1975, and it's Nomadness. So we've got Dave Cousins on here, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Richard Crooms, extra people on here. We've got loads. Rick Wakeman plays on here as well on one track. Ton Allen plays on this as well. Tony Carr's on here. Lots of people on here. So, first track on here is a great track called To Be Free. I love this. Great vocal from Dave Cousins. Superb little song. Little sleepy. Great track. Now this is a really good track. It's got some harpsichord on here. Really, really good. Like that track. The Golden Salamander again. Great track. Love this. Dave Cousins, brilliant. The bass is great. Fantastic track. Absent Friend, my favourite track on here. One of my favourite tracks by the band. It's a bluesy sort of piano, great guitar work. Back on the Farm, good track, the solid stuff. Shall I Love Show, having trouble today. So Shall Our Love Die, harmonising. Wonderful harmonies on this. Guitar work is wonderful, and a great bass line again. Tokyo Rosie. This is the track that Rick Wakeman plays on, and you can tell it's very Doobie Brothers as well. Soul track, I like that. A Mind of My Own, classic sounding Strawbs here. That piano is fantastic. Great track. Hanging in the Gallery, another really strong track. The Promised Land, great bass line from Chaz Cronk, fantastic. Way to end the album. A fine album from the Strawbs here. Not a bad track on this album. So I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in at number 11. Maybe a bit controversial, it's this low down. It's the second album from 1970, Dragonfly. And on here we've got Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, Claire Dinez on cello, Rod Chesterman on double bass, Tony Visconti plays the recorder on this, Rick Wakeman plays on this, Paul Brett plays on this, and Bajan. So they all play on the Vision of the Lady. The Weary song, really good. I love the bass line on here, and the sounds like a didgeridoo on it. I don't know if it is, but it's really good. Then we get Dragonfly. Now, I'm not a great lover of this track. I find it very, very dreary and wants me want to fall to sleep. I'm not a fan of that one. Then we got I Turn My Face Into Wind. It's not too bad. It's not very uplifting. It's very, very dreary as well. Then we get Josephine, For Better For Worse. It's not too bad. Another Day sounds more like Focus than the Strawbs. It's pretty good. Till the Sun Comes Shining Through. I like this song. The combination of the strings and the violins with the guitars really, really well. Then we get Young Again. That double bass really hits it. And you got this little sort of Russian-y set-off sound. It's not too bad. Then we do get a classic. One of my favourite tracks by the Strawbs, and it's the Vision of the Lady of the Lake. Oh, brilliant track. Classic Rick Wakeman playing on here. Very proggy, very good, epic song. Great vocals. Love that song. And then it just with a little ditty called Close Your Eyes at 56 seconds. It sort of continues on from Lady of the Vision of the Lady of the Lake. It's a really good album, but I just think it lacked a little bit of direction. But the thing about this album, of course, is the Vision of the Lady of the Lake. It's an absolutely outstanding track, one of their best. But the other tracks can be a little bit confusing. But I like it, but I like the others better. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.9. Okay, then coming in at number 10. Go to the 12th album now, from 78, Deadlines. So it's Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Tony Fernandez. Additional people on here are Robert Kirby and John Mealin. First track, No Return. It's okay. This is where they started changing their sound a little bit. It's a solid track. Joey and Me, like this track. Great guitar solo on it. One of my favourite tracks on the album. Sealed with a Traitor's Kiss again. This is actually a better version than the other one. Believe it or not. I don't want to talk about it. It's alright. The Last Resort. One of them upbeat hippie hop tracks from this time. Solid. Time and Life, my favourite track on here. I love the keyboards on here. I love the choral on it. It's just a really nice track. New Beginnings, not a particular favourite of me, I'm afraid. Deadly Night Shine, love the Hammond organ on that rich sound you get from the Hammond. The piano work is delicate. It really is an eerie, atmospheric track. Words of Wisdom. It's okay. It's got a lovely middle piece in here with the keyboards and the drums. Very proggy as well. That's the highlight of the song. And it's the last song. A very solid album from the Strawbs. It's got some really good tracks on here. It's a good listen from start to finish. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 9, it is Heartbreak Hill. It wasn't released until 1995, but it was actually recorded in 1978, as I told you before. There's lots of politics in this, but it was well worth the wait. Dave Cousins, Chaz Cronk, Tony Fernandez, Andy Richards and Dave Lambert, Joe Partridge and Miller Anderson are the guests. Something for Nothing. I love this track. The guitar is great. You've got this keyboard that lingers around, and sort of there in the background. A really strong track. Another Day Without You. I love the gentle mandolin on this. Really is good. We Can Make It Together. One of my favourites on this. Some lovely riffs on there. The keyboards are outstanding. Then we get my favourite track, and it's the title track. It's Heartbreak Hill. Everything on this, from the gentleness to the raw guitar riffs. The solos are fantastic. Got the gentle keyboards. It's absolutely brilliant. Starting Over. Another great track. This is another epic. The keyboards are my favourite on here. Halfway through we get some gentle guitar and keyboards. Then it starts building up a proper prog track. Excellent. Two Separate People. Not keen on this one. Little bit strange for me. Desert Song. Just a good old fashioned 70s rock track. Brilliant. Let It Rain. The last track. Really nice track. Love the piano on the guitar. We got a bit of a coda on it. Adds to it. Really good. It's a shame it took 17 years for this to get to the light of day, and well worth it. The wait. It's a really good tracks on this album, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay, then coming at number 8, we have the 11th album, released in 1977, Burning for You. We have got Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Rod Coombs. We've got John Mealing on the Mellotron. It's good, isn't it? So the first track here is Burning for Me. Solid track. I love the start of this. It's a moody sort of keyboard sound. Really adds to the track. Cut Like a Diamond. Catchy tune. The keyboards and guitarists complement each other so well in this track. I Feel Your Love Coming On. It's okay. Not one of my favourites. Baroque Roll for the Death of Venice. Love the guitar effect at the beginning of this, and it's got some lovely harmonies in this. Alexander the Great. Another great track off this album. Solid rock track. Nice arrangement. Dave's vocals are so strong on this one. It is my favourite track on the album. Really is good. Keep On Trying. The only thing I like about this is actually the guitar solo. The rest of it's pretty mediocre. Back in the Old Routine. It's got a jazzy, funky feel to this. Some great guitar work in this one. Heartbreaker. A little rocker here. Dave Lambert doing the vocals. It's a really good one. I love the keyboards again in this. Really adds to it. And Carry Me Home. Found this a bit wishy-washy. Not a song that I like. Goodbye. It's not the easy word to say. Don't like that one really. Great album. The last two tracks are a little bit fillery for me, but the rest of the album is very solid. Great tracks on this. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay then. Time for another drink. All this talking. Okay then, coming in number 7, got the 10th album from 1976, Deep Cuts. Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk and Rod Coombs. The mainstays, Robert Kirby, John Mealing and Rupert Holmes are the guests. First track on this one is I Only Want My Love to Grow in You. Quite a rude title. It's a nice middle of the road track. It's very Eagles. I quite like it. Turn Me Around. Love the start of it. That guitar riff is brilliant and the keyboards come in. Solid track. Hard Winter. Nice gentle track with some really nice harmonised vocals on that. Excellent track. My Friend Peter. Little rock track. Like that a lot. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's called The Soldier's Tale. It's got some frantic acoustic guitar playing, and then on top of that you get the electric car that sort of brings it down to a little bit more subdued thing. It gives atmosphere. Excellent track. Simple Visions. Some of the guitar playing on this reminds me of Steve Howell from Yes. That jazzy sort of sound, really good. Charmer, another quite poppy sort of song. I love the bass line from Jazz Cronk on that. It's really good. Wasting My Time. I love it when the Strawbs do this sort of jazzy bluesy sound. Really good track. Beside the Rio Grande. Love the funky guitars on this. Great vocal from Dave Cousins. And then the last track, So Close Yet So Far Away. It's a ballady type track. It's a very good track. Another solid album. It's got some really good tracks on this again. Very consistent during the mid-70s. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.6. Okay then, coming in at number 6. It is the debut album. Simply called The Strawbs. It's not their first album. The first album was the Sandy Denny and the Strawbs, called All Our Own Work, but that wasn't released till 1973. And this one was released in 1969. But I will be doing a feature on that, All of Our Own Work, in the new year. So on here we've got Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, Rod Chesterman on double bass. Additional personnel, Mr. John Paul Jones, the one and only, on bass guitar. Nicky Hopkins on the piano. And Richard Wilson. Yes, the Richard Wilson, Victor Meldrew himself. He does spoken word on this. The first track is called The Man Who Called Himself Jesus. Very sort of that 60s poppy, sort of hippie type music. Really good, I like that track. Then we get a track called Which Was Once Was Mine. Very folky. I like the float on that. Excellent track. All the Little Ladies. Funky type of track. Really good. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's called Pieces of 79 and 15. One of my favourite tracks by the Strawbs. I love the harmonies. I love the arrangement. The flute's good. Then we get Tell Me What You See in Me, a very psychedelic track. Love it. Psychedelic pop at its best. Oh How She Changed. Another sort of poppy 60s song. Nice melody, hooky riffs, excellent. Then we get a track called Or Am I Dreaming? Very 60s. Love it. It's just a great 60s track. Where Is This Dream of Your Youth? One of my favourite tracks on this album. It's got that 60s vibe. Poor Jimmy Wilson. It's a Renaissance sort of track. Lovely funky flute, great track. Then we get Where Am I? I'll Show You Where to Sleep. Definitely some of that great folky sound that they had, and the keyboard is really good. The Battle, great track. This is just love the keyboards and that funky sound to it. Really good track. A really good debut album. We've got folk, we've got rock, we've got hippie. I do like playing this album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay then, coming in at number 5. We go to the 5th album. Released in 1973, and it is Bursting at the Seams. It's the first album since the departure of Tony Hooper and the recruitment of Dave Lambert, and it contains their most successful singles. So we've got Dave Lambert, Dave Cousins, Blue Weaver, John Ford and Richard Hudson. First track is Flying. I love the start of this. It's that inconsistent, gentle sort of track. It's weird. Really good. And Lady Fuchsia. Like this track as well. Some right bizarre stuff going on here. Great little rock track. Stormy Down, a really good track. Catchy tune. Some nice piano work on this. Then we get my favourite track on here. Down by the Sea. Oh, this is an amazing track. Love the guitar work on this. The keyboards give it such atmosphere. Then we get The River. I love the strings on this. Then we get Part of the Union. Probably the most popular song. I like it, but it's not my favourite song. But I do remember this in the charts, believe it or not. Then we get Tears and Pavan. Very gentle stamps. Got a Greeky feel to this. Really good. The Winter and the Summer. What I like about this is that rich Hammond organ all the way through the track. Lay down some nice guitar work on this, especially that opening piece. Thank You. Real spoils this album. It's just lots of kids singing. And it sort of ruins the album for me. I never play this. I think it's horrible. Okay, the most successful Strawbs album in the UK charts, and it's got some great tracks on it. But I don't consider it their best album. I know there's a lot of people think this is their best album, but it is a very, very good album. Don't get me wrong. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, coming in number 4. This is the 8th album now, released in 1975, and it's called Ghosts. We've got Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, John Hawkin, Chaz Cronk, Rod Crooms. We've got Claire Diaz on the cello again, and Richard Kirby does all the choral arrangements. First track on here is the title track, Ghosts. Brilliant track. Love the Hammond organ on this. The harpsichord really adds to the track. Lemon Pie. After the magnificent of Ghosts, we get this really chilled out track with lovely acoustic guitar and nice gentle electric added on it. Wonderful little track. Starshine, Angel Wine. Shine is a gentle version, and then you go into Angel Wine, which is the rocky part of the track. Excellent track. Where Do You Go When You Need a Hole to Crawl Into? One of those funky rock tracks. I love the bass line from Chaz on that. Excellent track. Great bass player was Chaz Cronk. Then we get my favourite track on here, and it's a little mini epic called The Life Auction. Love the first bit, love that piano, and then you get all these effects on the vocals. Lovely mellotron comes in, the vocals and the bass. It's a brilliant track. Don't Try to Change Me, dramatic track. Just wonderful, wonderful. Remembering, it's a short little keyboard bit for 54 seconds that goes into a track called You and I, where when we were young. She carries on from that short keyboard bit. So great vocal from Dave Cousins. Love that. Grace Darling, vocal on this. Very, very Rick Wakeman as well. Although he doesn't play on this, Dave Cousins has worked with Rick quite a lot, and it's a really good track. Another great album with some absolute belter tracks on this one. Very hard because these top 6 albums are just amazing. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we got the 4th album from 1972, and it's called Grave New World. It's the first album to be released after the departure of Rick Wakeman, who was replaced by Blue Weaver, who was of Amen Corner. So we've got Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, Blue Weaver, John Ford, Richard Hudson. First track on here is Benedictus. Love the start of this. A church organ. And then you get some lovely guitar and that gentle drumming. Really good. Then we get this short little thing called Hey Little Man, Thursday's Child. Short acoustic track, but really, really good. Then we get Queen of Dreams. I'm going to switch the light off as well. It's a bit of a glare now. This is quite weird. It sounds the song's been reversed, but Dave Cousins is singing forwards. It's a bit different. Heavy Disguise, lots of trumpets in this. I like that track. Excellent. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's called New World. The mellotron really dominates this. It just oozes around the background. Wonderful track. Hey Middleman, Wednesday's Child. Another little acoustic going on from Thursday's Child, and that's the last track on side 1. And then side 2 starts with The Flower and the Young Man. Harmonised vocals on here. Very steelized Spawn. Wonderful little track. Gentle keyboards. Lovely track. Tomorrow, a really good track. It's a cross between Uriah Heep meets Jethro Tull. Really strong track. On Growing Older. Yes. Another short piece. It's got a very 60s vibe to it. And then we got Are Me, Are My. It's got a bit of a brassy umpapa thing on it. Sort of thing you'd expect on a Walt Disney film. It's quite different. It's only for a very short piece. Then we get a track called Is It Today, Lord? Mixture of folk and prog here. Very nice vocals and harmonies. The Journey's End. Another little short piece to end the album. This album, though, it's one of them albums that you cannot put on and play little bits. You put it on and you play it all the way through. I enjoy this, especially under the headphones, with a nice glass of whiskey. Very, very enjoyable. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.3. Okay, then coming in at number 2, we have the third album from 1971 from the Witchwood, which has got Dave Cousins on it, Tony Hooper, Mr. Rick Wakeman no less, John Ford, Richard Hudson, and the choir and the congregation of Air Strawbs. First track on here is the wonderful Glimpse of Heaven. Lovely bit of keyboard work here for Mr. Wakeman. I love this track. So gentle. Then we get Witchwood, very folk, atmospheric track. Really nice, gentle track on here. Then we get 30 Days. Interesting arrangement. Sounds, you just don't know what's going on. This is John Ford singing on this. It's a really good song. Then we get Flight. Really good song. You can always tell when you've got really good singers in a band because they all harmonise. You got John Ford, Richard Hudson can sing, and obviously Tony can sing, Dave can sing. It all sounds lovely. Really good track. It's one of my favourites on the album. Then we get The Hangman and the Papist. One of my favourite tracks by Strawbs. It's just a fantastic little track. Great playing by everybody. Rick Wakeman, brilliant. The vocals are brilliant. It's just, I just love this track. Then we get a track called Sheep. Some nice keyboards from Rick on that. And then Cannondale, love the start of this. The keyboard again from Rick is fantastic. The Shepherd's Song, wonderful again. Delicate piano from Rick. Amongst the Roses, one of their folk rock songs, some lovely harmonies on it. And the last track, I Carry On Beside You, Rick's piano, and this is just absolutely amazing. Solid album from top to bottom. Not a bad track on this. It's a pity that Rick Wakeman didn't make more albums with the Strawbs, but it's an absolute belter of an album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.5. So my number one is my number 23 as well. But this is the proper version from 1974, the 7th album, Hero and Heroine. Whew, what an album. It's got Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, John Hawkins, Chaz Cronk, Richard Crooms and Claire Dines on the cello. Opens up with Autumn. Heroine's theme, Deep Summer Sleep. It's 3 bits put together. Oh, the mellotron on this. Ooh, I just love that sound. This is great prog music. Some great guitars. Definitely one of my favourite tracks by the band, and this is my favourite track on the album. What an opening to this album. Then we get Sad Young Man. Love the electric piano on this, really adds to it. Fantastic track. Just Love. Great rock track. Great riffs. Great bass line from Chaz. Absolutely wonderful track. Shine On Silver Sun. Atmospheric track. Love Dave Cousins' vocal on this. Some great piano on here. Wonderful. Then we get the title track. Another great little, it's a short track, but it's really good. Hero and Heroine. It's dramatic. It's that really proggy sound, and then you get some lovely acoustic guitar coming in. Absolutely stunning little track. Wish it was longer than 3 minutes 29. Midnight Sun. It's got some congos on this, some flute. Really strong track. Out in the Cold. Chaz Cronk's bass line. Oh, brilliant. The guitar's a lovely little guitar solo on this. Very, very good. Round and Round. This track takes a little while to get going, but once it does, oh, does it hook you. That rich keyboard sound really adds to it. Then we get Lay, A Little Light on Me. What I like about this is the keyboards. It feels like he's strumming on guitar, but he's playing it on the keyboards. Weird, but really good. And then we get Hero's Theme. Great guitar work on this. I love. It's very short, but it's really, really good. Fantastic way to end the album. I think this is a very underrated album. Everyone keeps going on about, you know, oh, their best album is bursting at the seams. Man, this is the best album. I think this is musically, it's just absolutely brilliant. I think this is when it's one of them albums when everyone was in the right place at the right time. It is just absolutely brilliant. I don't understand why they remade it. Why would you want to remake a classic album like this? But this version is just sublime. I play this album a lot. Again, it's one of them albums you cannot put on the odd track. You play it all the way through. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.6. There we go. The mammoth task of the Strawbs, but a great band. I can't remember who asked for it, but hope you enjoy it. That's all for today, as this was long. I'll be back tomorrow, but don't forget, if you want to vote in the Wally of the Year, the nominees are there, so you just do your vote and we'll announce the winner tomorrow on the live stream. So I'll be back tomorrow where we've got a battle of the debuts. I've gone solo, and we're going to look what happened when Peter Gabriel left Genesis. So we have got the first Peter Gabriel solo album up against Trick of the Tail from Genesis. And then tomorrow also is the first of one of the new shows. We've gone through the cycle now of Pick and Mix. And this is called Mixing It Up, where I look at a producer, talk about some of their albums that they've produced. And then I'm going to pick my top 5 albums from that producer. So have a good day, and while we've been doing that, the light has improved a little bit. As you see, we turned the light off, so that's a good sign. So have a great day, everyone, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.